live. It says preparing to stream. It says got it. Super excited. Welcome in, everybody. If you're watching us live on the YouTubes. Oh, yeah, we're streaming live now, baby. We're in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to keep that open just in case anyone messages us in YouTube. What's going on, everybody? Kyle, welcome back to another week, my friend, of Transaction Tuesday. How's the week been so far?
It's been good. It's been good. It's only Tuesday, closing on properties, getting ones, getting verbal commitments on others. And so
We're trying to make money. We're trying to make money out here, bro.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Let's go. So everybody, excited to have you here. We're breaking down a new deal that we got. This deal is super interesting. I can't wait to break it down. I got the iPad. I got the trusty pencil. Thank God for honestly, thank God for the iPad and an Apple Pencil. This thing it really helps write. Does it help you, Kyle, when we write this stuff out?
Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
Right. Cool. Well, everyone, if you're first time tuning in on Transaction Tuesday, this is a live stream that we do for our folks in the Discord, as well as here on the YouTube channel. Coming live to talk about deals that we're doing in our business, actually doing deals. So who here wants to learn about deals that are actually happening, not theoretical deals, not some wild circumstance of like, hey, what if this happens and that happens and blah, 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 blah. We're actually breaking down real deals. So we're breaking down a deal here today. I'm super excited to do it because this was something that has been about 3 years in the making. And when I say 3 years, I mean it. I had this lady give me a call. Bless her heart. She was amazing. But I remember all the specific details. Kyle, you were at the appointment yesterday. I remember the details of this deal, and it was from 2019. Guys, you heard me talk about doing door knocking, and I've done trainings on the YouTube channel on door knocking, and other folks know that if you have a door knocking script and it was given to you because you're in our world, whether you're a sub-2 student or in the Facebook group, that's my door knocking script. We actually door knock. And this particular lead came from someone that I had door knocked 3 years ago. And I had talked to her. I went into her, I was talking to her and her husband. She invited me into the house. We were breaking down, the debt and stuff. And they were like, you know what? Right now is just not a good time because we really need to save this house. I'm not in a good place medically with the stuff I have going on and stuff I need to take care of. And then, my husband, he with his job, we don't know where else we'd go. I'm like, cool. We'll do this. Let me extend your auction, right? Even if I can't buy your house and we're plan B, at the very least, let me extend your auction. And if you guys can save the house, great. We wrote up the purchase contract. We did everything. We had Rochelle Jarvis, shout out Rochelle. She reached out and got the extension. And you guys hear me all the time talk about give value, give value, give value, give value. Well, these folks have been going through this whole process of being in foreclosure for over 3 years. They've been getting a month extension. So we gave them an extension way back when, and they were able to keep pushing this thing off until about a week ago, maybe a little bit more than a week ago. Maybe it is exactly a week ago. Either way, until about a week ago, she reached out to me, and I got a phone call. And I'm like, hey, who is this? And I answered it, and she goes, hey, Matt, you may not remember me. And I was like, Amy, is that you? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you had this, and this. She goes, it's crazy that you remember, but I always remember all the deals and any opportunity to work with someone. And she goes, well, I know it's been a long time. We're still dealing with this situation. We realize now that we probably should just sell the house. We realize now that this is probably the best time to do this. It's not the best. It's never the best time, but we realize that we just can't keep pushing this off. They have $47,000 in arrears. And at this point, they're just finally done. But the reason why she called me was because we helped her get an extension 3 years ago. We were the only people who went in and wanted to help this lady and her husband. There was nothing in it for me. I wasn't able to buy the house. I was kind of bummed at the time. Like, dang it. I need to get deals. Make no mistake. We're in this thing to make money. But it was awesome to be able to help someone and then know, I preach all the time, give value, but to see it later, see 3 years later down the road, for her to remember to give me a call because we provided value to her and her husband 3 years ago. We got her the extension, right? Which helped her buy more time. So she called me up. We set a time. We went to her house yesterday, right, Kyle?
Mhm.
What transpired at that appointment?
Yeah. So at the appointment yesterday, they were like, well, it's been about 3 years. We're still in the same
Yep.
situation. We've had about seven attempted loan mods kicked back. Um,
7 loan modifications.
yeah, 7 loan mods kicked back. They've talked to
Mhm.
several other people, and she was like, okay, I mean, there have been other people that have tried to, that have said we could buy it this way, and people who are all giving us 30 days, 30 days after close, or 30 days to essentially vacate the property once we receive
Right.
funds. And one of the biggest issues is timing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was giving them the time that they needed to really find a new place to move into.
That's all they needed was more time. So the cool thing about the way that we buy property, so yes, because I gave them gave them value and they thought about us and we sat down with them, I need a better deal than most, right? I can't pay more than most. I don't have unlimited funds, especially right now with the market doing what it's doing. We have to be super duper conservative with the deals we do buy, right? So with that being said, we're like, okay, well, look, I can give you what you need the most, right? And for her, that was 100% time. She wanted, her and her husband needed even more time to be able to get the thing. She has like a medical condition and he works all day now. So they needed more than just 30 days, right? They need more than just like, hey, we're going to buy the property and need you to get out, right? So number one, we face an uphill battle in that we get to get them an extension, which is not that hard once you have a purchase agreement. But let me break a couple things down on this deal, and I will spotlight myself so that way it makes it a little bit bigger. How do I do this, Kyle? I think I can. Maybe it's just my view speaker. And can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, I see the iPad. I see the
Okay.
iPad.
All right, cool. Just want to make sure you can see it.
Oh.
All right. So interesting things about this property here. So the arrears, this is how much they owe on this property. They owe about $47,000. This needs to be caught up because the auction is next week. Next week. So how can we save this person's house in that their auction is only a week away? Can we close in this house in time? Probably not. I need a clear title report before I give someone $47,000, right? So the most logical way to stop the auction is we need to get an extension. Okay. So the way that we get an extension is that we get a purchase agreement. So let me just walk you guys through this. Step one. Okay. Step one, we get a purchase agreement. Okay. This purchase agreement is between us, the buyer, and them, the seller, stating that we have an intention in purchasing their home. I don't have any sub two language in there. If I'm buying it sub two, that's a separate agreement. I don't want to send that to the bank. They're like, wait, what the heck? What is going on here? Right. I want to show them that they're selling the house and there is a closing date, right? That is not within a week. So I need to send them a purchase agreement with a closing of 30 days. Right? That's pretty industry standard, and most lenders will give you the opportunity to do that. They don't want to write off this loss. The bank would much rather get paid off in full than have to take a loss at the auction. Right? So step one, I get a purchase agreement with a closing date of with a closing of 30 days. Okay. Step two, we call the lender on a three-way call. Okay. We call the lender on a three-way call so we can get third party authorization. What that looks like is, hey, Mr. Seller, or hey, Mr. Lender, I am working with John here with this property in Mesa. I'm interested. We're going to be purchasing his home. And I have them here on the line so we can get third party authorization. And they're like, all right, John, what's your loan number? What is your social security number? Got it. Do you give Matt third-party authorization to be able to get access to the information on your loan here? Right? And the answer is, and then they typically, okay, yes, for sure. If they do everything they need, they get third-party authorization, then we can proceed. Right? Because in step 3, okay, we get connected with the loss mitigation department. And with the loss mitigation department, we have to tell them, hey, we're buying this house. I'm working with John to purchase his home. Do you guys need to see our purchase agreement? We need an extension on the auction, please. The auction is next week. We need enough time to buy the house. And they'll typically be like, okay, cool. How much time do you need? And we're like, well, we need 30 days to close. And then they'll be like, okay, great. Well, send me over a copy of your purchase contract, right? So we talk to loss mitigation department and ask for extension, right? If the auction is tomorrow, this is likely not going to happen. You need more time. Like, knowing that we're about a week out, it gives me enough time to get this done, right? With the loss mitigation department, and I ask for an extension. Step 4, I send the purchase contract. Okay. I send the purchase contract to the lender or the loss mitigation department or the trustee if they ask. I send the purchase contract. And typically they'll also ask for proof of funds and proof of funds. Okay. And at that point, I have an extension. We're good to go. Step 5. I can do all of this before I even open escrow, right? Especially if time is of the essence. I want to do that first. Step 5, I'll go open escrow with our purchase agreement. I'm just going to call it PA, purchase agreement. So that's what we have to do in these situations, right? So this lady who was going through this, we had already given her extension in the past. She knew that we know the process, and she's happy to work with us because, number one, we got to give them more time. And before I can give them more time, I got to do these steps, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And after I do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can then open escrow because I have 30 days to close, right? 30 days to close, right? And basically what that means is 30 days to pay back whatever is in arrears. So if I'm buying it subject to, right, which I am in this case. So if I'm buying sub 2, I need to get what's called a reinstatement. I need to order reinstatement. Okay. So I've done everything. We've opened escrow. I'm purchasing the home. I'm buying it subject to. I need to order a reinstatement on behalf of the seller because guess what? I have third-party authorization now. I can call the trustee and say, hey, I need a reinstatement. Can you please give me an updated reinstatement? You need it to the dollar. Typically, it'll take, if you order a reinstatement, it could take 3 to 5 days to get, right? So you have to be on top of this because that's the first thing you need to do. I need the total number. I know we think the arrears is 47,000, but what's the exact number? Is it $47,371.62? I have to know it down to the penny because that's the number I have to pay to stop the auction. And if I pay it to the penny, then the auction's off. We're good to go. Right? It's a big deal. So buying sub 2, I need to order a reinstatement. So in this case, again, here's what the seller needs. And now more than ever, getting good at pre-foreclosures, this is your golden key. This is your golden ticket. I'm sorry. You need to figure out what the heck the seller needs. What do they really want? And what needs to actually happen for them to do what they need to do, right? Because to be honest with you, a lot of times, this is not their plan A. Right? Even yesterday, Kyle, were we the plan A?
No. Nope.
No, we were not the plan A. We were plan B. But in the event that plan A didn't work out, which is them keeping the home, getting a loan and do all that, which it didn't happen. So in the event plan B happened, what do they really need what do they need the most? Right.
Time.
So for them, they needed what, Kyle?
They needed more time.
They needed time. No one was willing to give them the time. But if I buy it creatively, I'm cool with giving them more time, right? It really depends on how I have to pay them the money. So if I give them time, right, I was like, well, how much time? So for these folks, they need in the area of a 60-day post possession. So they can have some cash. They can get their things together. They've been living in this house for over 10 years. They need a 60-day post possession. Great. Well, the more concessions I have to give to my seller, the better the deal has to be, right? The more of a discount I get or the better the terms I have to get if I'm giving them more concessions. Does that make sense? Right. So they needed time. Another thing that they need is they need help with moving. Neither one of them are in any position to move. And for these folks, they wanted to put something in a storage unit potentially and move some stuff to a short-term rental while they get their credit back together. Because guess what? If I buy it sub 2, number one, I'm paying off this number. I'm paying this guy off right here, right? So what does that do to their credit? The credit goes up because they're no longer in foreclosure. And guess what also happens when I start making their monthly payments on their behalf? Every single month, it's on time. Their credit goes up. So they can realistically probably buy a house in the next year if they don't do anything ridiculous. Right, Kyle?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So they wanted to move into a temporary rental, probably in the neighborhood of 6 to 12 months. So they wanted us to move stuff there. And then when the time comes, they wanted to move to their permanent residence. When the time comes, which I think for them is realistic, right? They're on the cusp of their life changing, right? They're really close. So how can we assist to help them get there, right? And sometimes you gotta move on from the past and you gotta turn a chapter and say it was painful to go through, right? And a lot of people in foreclosure, it's painful to go through. It's painful to get to the point where you're like, man, I have to sell my house. That cuts deep for many people, right? That's a tough pill to swallow. So how can we soften that blow and make it as easy as possible, make it like at the transition as smooth as possible? They don't have to put in a ton of stuff, right? They don't have to put in a lot of mental headache, heartache, dealing with anything more than what they're already dealing with. So for them, they needed time. And the next thing is they needed help with moving, right? 60-day post-possession, temporary rental, permanent residence. Okay. So I was like, all right, well, great. If we structure this deal appropriately, I think there might be something we could do. So Kyle, what was kind of the direction we took with this one?
Yeah. So this one was with subject to. So we slowly pitched subject to, taking over the payments, stepping in their shoes, making those payments on their behalf, making the loan good again. And then making sure that, with whatever remaining equity, right, at closing, we can cash them out a certain percentage of that. And then, and structure the financing for the rest of the equity over time. We kind of went in that direction.
Yeah, that was kind of the direction. Because I'm like, I don't know how much equity they want. I'm not going to put numbers in their mind. I'm not going to say and assume you guys want a ton of money for this deal. I just need to know what's kind of already in place, and then I can kind of work my way backwards. So this one, it does have a mortgage. Okay. And their mortgage amount is in the neighborhood of 226,000.
Mhm.
Right. Right. And their monthly payment on that mortgage was about $980. Okay. Per month. That's pretty awesome. Because the retail value, I'm going to put retail value on this house is in the neighborhood of 425,000. Right. But this home also needs repairs. Okay. That's something to take in account. And the repairs needed on this house is probably going to be in the neighborhood of $40,000. Needs floor, needs paint, landscaping, and the pool needs to be filled. They said the pool just needs to be filled back up. I'm like, probably gonna need to be serviced, the whole thing. So I'm assuming about 40 grand on this house in repairs. So taking all that into account, it's like, all right, well, how much do we have in arrears? So we already stated the arrear amount is in the neighborhood of 47,000. So when I'm talking to the seller, I'm like, all right, well, realistically, how much money do you guys need? Because if I structure this deal appropriately, there may be a world where I can still give you guys some cash. It just depends on how much you guys are hoping to get. So the first numbers I look at is I'm going to add these two together. Okay. So 226,000 plus 47,000, right? So that brings us in the neighborhood of 273,000. Now, by the time you add in escrow fees and all the other stuff and closing costs, I'm probably going to realistically not be 273. That number is probably going to be closer to $280,000, right? So that includes the arrears because I have to pay the arrears off. I have to catch this loan up if I'm taking it over subject to. Okay. So this is my new number right here. Put a star beside it. So how much money do you guys need to walk away with for it to make sense? He initially said 40. I was like, okay, there's a little gap right there. But we're able to get them down to in the neighborhood of $20,000. So $20,000 to the seller at close, right? Cash to seller, 20,000. Okay. So all in, we would be buying this house subject to at $300,000, right? And I know it needs some work to get it to where we want it to be, but based on this super low debt that's in place, I have a massive gap of what I could do with this property. Because when I look at it, I could do stuff with this property that I couldn't do in other areas, like in other markets, because this property is in Mesa, Arizona. So it leaves the door open of like, okay, could this be a long-term rental? And the answer is sure, it could, right? But my cash flow isn't going to be that great because you got to look at, for me to come and buy this house, I'm immediately going to be spending right here. I'm going to be spending $67,000 to close this house, right? If I use money at 12% interest, my monthly payment would be $670 per month, right? Which is still okay, but I'm also keeping in the back of my mind that I'm going to need to do some repairs. Now, do I think 40 grand is an overestimate? Yes, but I still want to be conservative. But if I was to go in and do 67 grand plus my 40 grand in repairs, my monthly cost, if I had hard money at 12% sitting in this deal, will be closer to about $1,010 a month. Right. And if that's the worst case scenario, that's for me to pay the arrears, the cash to seller, the closing cost, and the cost to repair the house. Then let's look at what that does to our numbers. So all in all, my monthly payments, I'm gonna erase this. If I had to buy this with hard money and I wanted to keep it, my monthly payment all in would be in the neighborhood of about $2,000 per month. Okay. So I ideally don't want to keep that 12% money on this deal that long unless I structured it with like a partner or something. But I know for sure the area rent for this house, is about $2,600 a month. Okay. So I could rent it out and I'd have a nice house and a nice rental in a good area. So it would work as just a regular long-term rental. There's enough there. The AC is 10 years old. The roof is brand new. The bones of the house, again, is good. And if I did the work, I'm like, all right, cool. Especially with the pool, $2,600 a month. So it would technically check out for a long-term rental. right? Again, I'm using other people's money, not my own in this. I have my private money lenders over here getting 12%. I'd ideally want to be like, hey, you want to do 10%? But it still works, right? The next thing I would look at is, would this property be a good Airbnb? Because to be honest with you guys, I'd want to keep hold of this property as long as possible. It's in a good area. It makes a good rental. And honestly, the entry is too high for me to want to wrap this. Because if I wrapped it, I would need like 90 grand down from my end buyer, and 90 grand on a $400,000 purchase price is like almost 25% down, right? Could we find someone if the house is beautiful and the pool looks good? Maybe. But ideally, I'd like to stay in this deal a little bit longer, because the Airbnb on this is right around $300 a night. Right? So if I got this property up to where I need it to be, my all-in debt on this property is, I have the underlying debt as a subject to, it's a conventional loan, good interest rate. And I know that I could Airbnb this thing. So number one, it makes sense as a long-term rental, just in case Airbnb ever got shut down. But then second thing is, if my entry fee was 67 grand plus 40 grand to do the repairs, I like to probably do 30 grand in repairs and spend 10 grand furnishing it, and maybe come out of pocket another 5 to finish the furnishing. But like, if I knew that my all in was 107, so I was able to keep my payments in this $1,000 neighborhood, to get a brand new Airbnb, my monthly payment is $2,000 a month. I had to put 100 grand in to get a brand new Airbnb in a great area that's doing $300 a night. Even at, let's just do the math, even at like 70% occupancy per month. So on any given month, let's do 30 days times 0.7. That's 21 days. You're doing $300 a night. That's $6,300 a month as an Airbnb, right? Let's even be even more conservative. Let's not add any cleaning fees or any other additional admin fees or any pet fees or anything. Let's just say it was only $5,000 a month, right? In a worst case scenario, this deal makes too much sense as an Airbnb, with like super conservative being $5,500 a month as a short-term rental, and the property's right down the road from us, right? This is what I would call a no-brainer when it comes to a creative deal. So for me, I don't care if they get a 60-day post-possession, because the only thing I'm paying per month is I'm paying $2,000 a month, right? So, hey, I'll spend 4 grand to let you stay another 2 months, because I know as soon as you leave, I'll get that back almost 1 month on Airbnb, right? The cash flow on this, roughly $3,500 a month on Airbnb on a low end, not including any fees, not including any kind of seasonal upticks or anything, not including any cleaning fees, right? The numbers here are pretty darn good. So I like it as a long-term rental. It's a foreclosure that came from me knocking on their door 3 years ago. And I'm so happy they didn't sell me the property 3 years ago. You know why? Because I wouldn't have been able to do this. 3 years ago, I would have had to assign this deal, make $2,500 and be out of it forever. 3 years ago, I would have had to assign this deal to somebody and make no money after that. That's crazy. Now I get the tax benefit of owning another property, right? So that's going to save me like 20 grand on taxes. And then I'm going to be able to cash flow pretty good on the Airbnb. And my private money people are pretty excited because they get to put their money in second position. Yes. But they get to secure it against a piece of real estate getting high interest. Right? Just makes a ton of sense. So again, it's crazy that 3 years ago I talked to this lady and it's just not coming to fruition. But I am excited and glad that it's finally come to pass. And who knows? You know, maybe we own it as an Airbnb and then we're like, you know what? We don't want to do that anymore. We know we can still do a long-term rental, and we know that we could still always go back and be like, let's just see if we can find a wrap buyer. Let's see if we can find a homestead buyer to stay in this house. So, and of course, the deal would definitely pencil as a wrap if we were able to get 90 grand down, but that's neither here nor there. That's a pretty big entry fee for somebody, but it would be a nice house in a nice area. So, and at the lower end of the prices in Mesa, Arizona. Right. So good stuff. Kyle, what do you think?
Dude, I think honestly, this all comes back to what you said. It's like people don't remember what you say. People remember how you made them feel. Right. So like always delivering value to people, always going above and beyond with nothing, with no expectations, with not expecting anything in return. And 3 years later, they remembered you because you helped them. Right. And yeah, now
it's like getting out of the transaction mentality of like, I know this is Transaction Tuesday, but like getting out of the transactional mentality of just like getting a deal with someone, doing everything you can to get across the finish line and then never talking to them again. It's like really trying to build good relationships with folks because you don't ever know where it could repay you. Right. This one was, we gave them value 3 years ago and she thought about us to work with us. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. So I don't know. This is just a testament to what we talk about, and I'll get her take too. So whenever we get over and talk to her again, maybe as we get closer to closing, I'll go over there and we'll do like a quick YouTube video or something, like getting her side of the story, because I do think it's an interesting one. And I think a lot of people always think I'm like just talking about something on YouTube whenever we're like, oh yeah, just provide a ton of value. It works, I want you guys to see like firsthand from a seller's perspective, why she would want to work with someone like us. But the deal makes sense. Long-term rental definitely makes sense as an Airbnb. And that's what we're going to end up doing. It's going to have a sweet pool in the back. So whenever Kyle wants to go swimming, he'll have somewhere to go. But yeah, it's going to be great, man. I'm super excited about this deal. Kyle, final thoughts.
Yeah. I think we talk about this on Transaction Tuesday all the time, but always looking at multiple exit strategies with these deals, always being able to pivot back to a long-term rental if Airbnb doesn't pencil, or maybe, even if a wrap doesn't work out, depending on what the entry fee would be. But, always being able to rely on having a long-term rental as your, as an exit strategy for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Always rely on multiple exit strategies. I'll never buy a deal that just has one. So we're reading some of the questions. Thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube. This is awesome. Let's see. Michael, what's up, bro? How do we structure a loan mod where we make a small fee and move on? Do we do that ourselves or charge or use a TC? Also, what's the retail price you would charge for that? Honestly, man, I have never gone the loan mod, like coach people through that process, simply because like legally, I don't want to be on the hook for telling someone to do something wrong. Like I kind of point people in the right direction of like, hey, these are the people you need to call, have a conversation with these folks. They're going to ask for some information, fill out their packet, send it back to them. If you need help, like getting in touch with your trustee, I can provide that value to you. I'm all about just like value. And hopefully it comes back. So even like in the past, I've spent a couple $100 to help people out. I've taken people down to bankruptcy court to help them go through that, even though I didn't get paid on it. And that's always been my approach. I'm sure there's people out there that does like charge to help them with low mod. I'm just not the guy to ask on that one, because I'm not sure how much you would charge to do something like that. But I do know folks that do. And if you're in sub 2, I think there's some couple folks in like Atlanta that do a lot of those. But it's like probably be like a couple $100. Lance says, so you write up an agreement and go to the trustee or the bank and get an extension knowing you are not going to perform to help the owners out. So you have to have the agreement first, right? So if I have the purchase agreement, right, I have this guy right here, and sorry, this is a lease agreement. But if this was a purchase contract, I need to get this written up with the intent that we're going to purchase the house. Even if you still need to work out the terms, even if you're just trying to help them out and you want to get them an extension, you can still put a purchase contract together and send that in and say, hey, we're serious about buying the house, and send them a proof of funds. The proof of funds just needs to be in your name. It doesn't have to be your bank account or a screenshot of a bank account. It could be, proof of funds from a hard money lender or your private money lender that says, hey, these people are good, and I loan them up to X amount of money per month. And if you need help with proof of funds, like join the Discord, comment in there, we'll get you one. But that's kind of how the proof of funds work. And as long as you have something in writing, because they'll typically ask you to scan it over. Sometimes they won't. You'll be surprised. Sometimes they'll be like, all right, we'll give you 30 days. Right. But also to that end, you want to be prepared to be able to scan over whatever you have to get that extension. So I hope that helps. Let's go. Let's go. I got a deal in Jacksonville. How do I JV with you guys? Regular guy, bro. You know what's up. Come on now. Join the Discord. Shoot us a message. If you guys don't have the link in Discord, I have Maggie who does all the social media stuff. She's going to put it in the description of this on the YouTube channel. So if you guys are not already in the Discord, join. I do have to organize it a little bit better. We're working through the kinks as we're building it out. We went from like 5 people to 20 to now we have over 400. So we're working out the kinks as we go. So I appreciate you guys being patient with us. But yeah, we're excited to continue to come live with you guys. I think this is the time we should be going hard. There is a tremendous amount of opportunity out there in this market for anyone who wants to go for it. And I've been saying it, screaming it from the hilltops for the last 30 to 60 days. Foreclosures is the foundation of your business. This is where this deal came from. This is a foreclosure from 3 years ago that we're converting into a deal. And we're also talking to a lot of on-market deals, negotiating with realtors. If you guys want the secret sauce, join the Discord. I won't say it again. I've been saying it on every single video. Join the Discord. I look forward to seeing you guys there. And that's been our edition of Transaction Tuesday this week. Tomorrow is Wildcard Wednesday, where we listen to you guys, whatever you guys want us to talk about on the YouTube channel and in the Discord. There's a video chat there. We're going to start doing those in there where we just pick a topic and we just go off on it for about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. So that's Wildcard Wednesday. Seller calls will be on Thursday. And then Friday, we're back to Freaky Friday where we outline our deals of the week. So hopefully you guys found some value from this video today. As always, thank you for hanging out with us on the channel. I do not take it lightly. Anytime that anyone spends with us, learning from us or hearing what we got going on, hopefully you always garner value from this and you go and you implement something new in your business and you start